Oh my goodness, this is very interesting. We received this morning a cable from the Swedish Embassy. That our distinguished keynote speaker has been made a honorary citizen of the country of Sweden. And his new name is His Royal Highness Prince Peterson. That's a lot funnier if you were there once.
Now, I must tell you, we've had a lot of interviews here with Chief Justices of the United States, governors, senators, and prosecutors, people who were involved in very high office, solicitor generals, attorney generals, U.S. attorneys like William Hochul, who's here. These are all really big deals, but I've never had the privilege to say that tonight I'm going to have a chance to interview His Royal Highness. So, thank you very much for that. So David and I were having this conversation, and he said, gee, why don't we have a chance to interview His Royal Highness Prince Zeid, ambassador from Jordan to the United Nations? And I said, great. And David said, no, it's perfect. It is perfect. Now, I did a little biographical research to prepare for tonight. And you must know that Jamestown, New York, many of you have never been here before, is very much a Swedish community. My name is Greg Peterson. And if you hadn't read the bio closely, you would know that Prince Zeid's mother is Swedish, born Margareta Inga Elizabeth Lind. It doesn't get any more Swedish than this. And so I thought of no other better gift to introduce Prince Zeid to us, to the Jackson Center, and more importantly, to Jamestown, than this shirt, which I am glad to give to you. It reads, "Not only am I perfect, I'm Swedish too." Here, get a picture of this. Your mother would be so proud.
She would be. She would be.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and pleasure of introducing His Royal Highness Prince Zeid Al Hussein, Ambassador of Jordan to the United Nations.
Thank you very much, David, for that warm welcome. Good morning, everyone. The reflections and disjointed impressions of an ordinary professional diplomat at the UN speaking in a personal capacity. It's an impression I gained from a visit to Jordan last week, and I returned only at the end of that last week. I was there for practically 5 days and held a continuous series of discussions. And then, as we are now, we felt that we were being whipped daily by a new staggering development. Today we heard, for instance, that the experts that were sent by the UN now to look at the site of the alleged chemical weapons attack were shot at by snipers and have been withdrawn temporarily or not, we don't know, and we're waiting to see. And the gigantic developments in Egypt and the indisputable fact with only culpability remaining to be determined that chemical agents have been used in Syria on a large scale, I think dominated our thinking last week. And what I found most interesting and most extraordinary about the events in Egypt to begin with was how they were viewed by notable Jordanian human rights and legal experts. I had arrived in Jordan believing and knowing that the people whom I was going to see, while they would have no time for the Muslim Brotherhood, would nevertheless have equally been appalled by the enormous bloodletting that accrued following the clampdown or the cracking down by the Egyptian government on the Muslim Brotherhood. And to my astonishment, it was really quite the opposite. These very people, activists and lawyers who devoted themselves to human rights issues, not just within Jordan, but also within the region, were very supportive of what the government was doing, notwithstanding the massive loss of life. And there he was, and they said to me this, that the Brotherhood in Egypt was leading that country and the region into a very dark future where human rights and civil liberties were concerned, and that the Egyptian people, broadly speaking, knew it, and with the help of the army, checked this development. But what I want to convey to you is the complexities of these very situations, and the very moral dynamics with which we have to face. And it's never that easy to just draw arbitrary lines across these issues. The third reflection is one concerning Syria. It's actually very difficult to talk about Syria because, of course, things are moving very quickly now there. All of us, most of us, seek accountability for the appalling crimes that have occurred in Syria over the last 3 years, or 2 years, I should say. And you reach a point where you can no longer stand watching YouTube simply because the uncensored images that are based on it they fill you with utter revulsion. And so how could we not but demand accountability for what has happened then? And yet, Syria strategically, of course, is in a very sensitive spot. While many of us would desire at some stage that the Syrian situation be referred to the International Criminal Court, thus far the Russians, the Chinese, and some other countries have not been in favor of this. The US has been very much in favor of there being accountability for these crimes at the stage to be determined in the future. But with the Israeli presence and occupation of the Golan, there's a complication because any referral by the Security Council of Syria, of the ICC, or let's say Syria to the jurisdiction of the ICC, then would drag that situation also in, and for obvious reasons the US would not be in favor of that. But this is still a script that is unfolding, and we must view it very carefully. In sum, when looking at the Arab world, accountability, yes, is something that is very important. But we need to be very critical in the way we approach it? Yes, absolutely. We must also understand, and this is my final point, that when you look at the Arab world, and this perhaps is the idea of where we're going in the future, there is no authentic Arab liberal philosophy, or no authentic Arab liberal philosopher at the moment. I mean, in an age of iPads and iPhones and galaxies and so forth, there are hardly any philosophers anywhere, let alone the Arab world. People want to be like something else. They want to be like the West, but they just don't have the grammar, the tools to articulate it, and to fashion it into a political platform. And so for a long period of time to come, we're going to see this rather jerky movement forwards and backwards between aspirations and the aspirations of a, by and large, liberal youth, juxtaposed to Islamic ideologies that have strong foundations, a good organizational structure, and are indigenous to the region. And I think that will be the narrative for the period to come. And where accountability fits into this is something that we will have to see how it develops in detail. So, I thank you very much.